the members, management and staff of NERSA to the Petroleum Pipelines Subcommittee meeting number 203 of the 12th of March 2026, which is scheduled to run until 12 o'clock. It is held virtually via Microsoft Teams, and also it's being live streamed on the various live streaming platforms of NERSA. I would like to also welcome the members of the public that are on the other end of the live streaming. My name is Muzi Mkize. I'm going to be chairing this meeting, being ably assisted by the members of this subcommittee, together with management and staff of NERSA. My the members of this PPS is, I would just like to introduce them briefly. I have the part-time regulator member, who is also the deputy chairperson of NERSA and a member of this subcommittee, as well as other committees of NERSA, Madam Ria Cavender. You may greet the attendees.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Good morning, NERSA colleagues and members of the public. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Cavender. I also have the part-time regulator member, who is the chairperson of the IT Governance Committee, and a member of this PPS, as well as other committees of NERSA, Mr. Fungais Banda. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, Chair, colleagues, and members of the public. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sbanda. I also have the full-time regulator member, who is the CEO of NERSA, a member of this PPS, as well as other committees of NERSA, Advocate Nomalanga Stole. Over to you, ma'am.
Good morning, Chairperson, and everyone who has joined us for this subcommittee meeting today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We've got an apology from one member, Madam Nomfundo Maseti, who is a full-time regulator member, primarily responsible for gas regulation, as well as a member of this committee and other subcommittees. I have lastly the
good
gentleman.
Morning, Chairperson. I've joined from the beginning, before the meeting was stopped.
Okay.
But good morning to them and the members of the chair.
Thank you. If you may just try to shift a bit to make sure that your connection doesn't, fade from time to time, please. I would then lastly introduce Mr. Wilprot Majola, who is the full-time regulator member, primarily responsible for electricity regulation, and a member of this committee, as well as various committees of NERSA. Over to you, Mr. Majola.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, colleagues at NERSA, and also good morning to the members of the public. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Majola. We'll then go on to adopt the agenda, which is a long agenda, noting that there are these annual reports that are supposed to serve. This being the last month of the year, tend to have those challenges. And I'm really pleading with everyone concerned that we ensure that this meeting runs smoothly and we're very much economic with our time. The changes that are noted is that the item dealing with the guidelines on tariff differentiation features acceptable to NERSA would be for noting and not approval, as well as the fact that item 23 and 24, they would have to be dealt with in camera, not to the open meeting due to the fact that it is considered, they are considered as part of those issues that should be dealt with in terms of section 8(9) of the subsection 9 of the Energy Regulator Act. With that, members, by show of hands, if you do support the adoption of the agenda as presented. Thank you, Mr. Machola. Thank you, Madam Kavenda. Thank you, Advocate Tole. Thank you, Madam Maseti. Thank you, Mr. Sbanda. I also support. We then proceed with item 5, which is the Astron Energy's financial instruments for financial provision for the rehabilitation of land.
Thank you, Chair.
Pardon me. Before we proceed to that, I would like to maybe clarify something here. That in some of these, the headings are not necessarily corresponding with the content, and I've tried to synchronize that for members' understanding. And before we proceed, I also like to stress that members, if you may please just indicate if there are any conflict of interest from your side to declare verbally in this meeting, if any. I don't see any hands. I also would like to plead with all of you to please fill in the declaration of interest form and share them with the Secretariat. Thank you. We may proceed then, Madam Tua, with the first presentation on the Astron Energy's financial instruments for financial provision for rehabilitation of land. Over to you, ma'am, and your team.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, members again, and members of the public and colleagues. This is the request for the PPS to approve the use of bank guarantee for Astron. The initiator, Ms. Nkosi, will come in, and maybe, Chair, for saving time because of the long agenda, if the initiator can just come in after you've presented the item so that we can move swiftly, and then consider everything as read and keep to the 3 minutes of presentation. Thank you, Ms. Nkosi.
Good morning, members and colleagues and members of the public. The purpose of this submission is to request the PPS members to approve the use of a bank guarantee as Astron's preferred financial instrument for the financial provision for rehabilitation of land on which is licensed petroleum storage pipelines and loading facilities are built. Section 1.10 of the Petroleum Pipelines Delegation Matrix, approved by the Energy Regulator on the 27th November 2025, empowers the PPS to approve all matters relating to the rehabilitation of land on which a license activity takes place. Astron submitted its application on 15 October 2025, proposing a bank guarantee as its preferred form of financial instrument. Subsequent to the submission, NERSA requested additional information, which was fully submitted by Astron on 29 December 2025. Astron did not have a provision for the rehabilitation of land in the previous years. In terms of the guidelines, a chosen financial instrument must be approved by the Energy Regulator before accumulated funds are recouped from the approved tariffs. It is therefore recommended that the PPS approves the use of the bank guarantee as Astron preferred financial instrument for financial provision for the rehabilitation of land on which its licensed petroleum storage facilities are built. The bank guarantee document is attached here too as Annexure A. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Madam Nkosi. Members, any questions, comments, guidance to provide to Madam Nkosi and the team? I don't see any hands. I will then go straight to the. Oh, there is a hand by Mr. Sbanda. Mr. Sbanda, sir.
Yes, Chair. Just a quick one, Chair. Is there an escalation attached to these funds to make sure that they don't deplete in value over time? How do we make sure that in 2 years' time, in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time, the amount that we are presented with here is still adequate? Is there an escalation of sorts? And yeah, just that question, Chair. Thanks.
Thank you. Madam Maseti.
Thank you, Chair. I think Mr. Spanda covered me on the issue of the annual assessment of the sufficiency of that allowance, just to make sure that at least it gets adjusted with inflation. That's the first thing that I would suggest that it be looked at. The second thing that I wanted to raise relates to risk assessment with regards to the type of financial instrument chosen, and where the bank guarantee has been thoroughly assessed from a risk perspective, because this kind of funds don't want them to easily be because a bank guarantee can be, it's something that not if it's with or any licensee ability of those funds and get access to. So bank guarantee, I don't think that it provides that security that you were required to provide. So what kind of risk assessment is done in this regard? And if it has not been thoroughly, I suggest that at least within a year or so, we take a process exercise that will make sure that we is thoroughly including risk and
Okay, I hear you, but you've been breaking badly. I'll try to assist in terms of what I've heard. Please try to kind of relocate so that you can be able to have a problem-free connection. In essence, the issue that the annual assessment adjusted with the inflation is being suggested, and then the risk assessment with respect to type of financial instrument that it to indicate if it's been done, and if it's not done, to make sure that within the year that it is done. Just the assessment in terms of the adequacy of that financial instrument. Those are the questions. I'm just trying to help you, Madam Chua, and your team. Madam CEO, over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Chairperson, and apology for interrupting you. I thought you did not see my hand. Chair, mine is just to get clarity because of what is being proposed, that the rehabilitation fund will be provided via a bank guarantee. And the assumption is that the money will be in the licensee's account and it will earn interest. And I have noted in thing, we will require a submission of how the funds, or rather, they will require a report annually on this particular guarantee, and I'm just then assuming that there'll be bank charges and other charges that may be deducted from it, including the fact that this amount in the bank account will earn interest. So in terms of the disclosure for us to monitor this bank guarantee, are we going to be requesting the licensee to give all those information or all the information required in terms of whether the money is still there, the interest earned, the bank charges, etc., such that we satisfy ourselves that the funds are still available, and also look at the other issue raised by Mr. Sibanda of whether do we need to have it increased per annum or not. So, Chair, if they can clarify that for me, I'll appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Advocate Tole. Madam Govender, over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Chair. Just a minor one from my side. The bank guarantee attached to the documentation here isn't signed. Can we please ask that documents of this nature be signed authentic documents that are uploaded, so we can at least, on the face of it, establish that they are authentic documents? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Govender. I'll then give the opportunity to the team to respond to the questions posed. Mr. Mahlang.
Thank you, Chair, and morning to members, management, colleagues, and members of the public who are joining the live stream. To respond to the first question from Mr. Sibanda is that when the values are determined for the licensed facilities based on the life of the asset, the respective life of the assets, the values are adjusted by the CPI values. Adjusted by CPI. So CPI is taken into consideration when the final figure is considered by the licensee in conjunction with selected or appointed financial institution, because the financial institutions are the ones that work out the values in terms of the approved financial instrument. And with respect to the questions from Ms. Massetti, the licensee submits an annual review as well as a 5-year review to NERSA. This is to fulfill the condition in the guideline on adequacy and sufficiency. With respect to the question on risk assessment, is that when the technical team was developing the guidelines, the studies indicated that a bank guarantee is the most commonly accepted or used financial instrument in the market. The due diligence and risk assessment factors are always taken into account, and it was also proven that it's a most liquid facility for the release of the funds in the event that a licensed facility or facilities are decommissioned. And the other question on the chart from Ms. Massetti is regarding the accessibility of the funds by creditors, is that in the guidelines as well as a clause in the financial instrument of the bank guarantee, a ring fencing condition is always put in place to ensure that these funds are protected against creditors or liquidation or business rescue. I'm not sure if I might have covered all the questions. I may ask management to respond to the questions which I might have missed. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much. In essence, these are emanating from the guidelines, the criteria that are set there, which a lot of risk assessment has actually come into the guidelines themselves, in terms of looking at acceptable instruments. And then the second layer is now to look at the instrument as it gets presented. I think that is how you should be looking at it, and that in essence, all the elements that will talk to the escalation of the monies or the fund are also looked at on an annual basis. That is including the charges as well as the interest that is gained, and that the part of what also is in the criteria is that the instrument must be ring fenced, and this ring fencing protects it against the creditors having access thereto, and finding that this is diverted to other use, which is what the ring fencing actually seeks to address. I think that is in essence what the responses entail. I don't know, members can just show by thumbs up if you are covered by the responses. I see Mr. Sibanda is covered. Madam Stolle. Madam CEO, are you covered? Madam Maseta, are you covered? Madam Governor, are you covered in the sense that going forward, we'll make sure that we do give a clear, attached documents that are authenticated. Thank you very much. Thank you. I would then like to ask to proceed by way of voting on the recommendation, which states that it is recommended that the PPS approves the use of the bank guarantee as Astron Energy's preferred financial instrument for financial provision for the rehabilitation of land on which its licensed petroleum facilities are built. A copy of the bank guarantee is attached here too as Annexure A. By show of hands, members, if you support the recommendation. Thank you, Madam Maseti. Thank you, Madam Govender. Thank you, Mr. Machola. Thank you, Mr. Sibanda. Thank you, Advocate Stolle. This then concludes item 5. We'll then move to item 6, which is a decision and reason for decision on the amendment of the Petroleum Pipeline rules made under the Petroleum Pipelines Act number 60 of 2003. Over to you, Madam Mahamata.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning to the members of the committee and colleagues in the meeting. Chair, the item before the members relates to the proposed amendments to the current Petroleum Pipelines Act rules of 2019, for which the members were apprised of briefly in the pre-hearing that was held on Monday, the 9th of March. Today, Chair, we are requesting the PPS to approve the amendment of the rules as allowed for in terms of section 4.1 of the PPS delegation matrix. In terms of the overall amendments put forth, Chair, there are 5 key amendments proposed within the rules, which include, amongst others, the move from working days to adopting the use of calendar days, the expansion of what constitutes a conversion license, and then we've made some enhancements and expansion of areas dealing with the handling of complaints and investigations, and further clarity on some of the areas related to tariff applications. In the pre-hearing discussion, Chair, we only touched on the 2 amendments that had financial implications for the applicants and licensees, which are the inclusion of the application fees and the costs associated with the issuance of notices for public comments. For those two, Chair, I would like to maybe briefly highlight how the concerns raised by members during the pre-hearing have been addressed, because we didn't have time then. So firstly, on the concern regarding the sequencing and consultation of the application fee, we noted the members' cautions and would like to clarify that the current application fee was consulted on with stakeholders during the 2021-22 period. And then following that consultation, the energy regulator then formally approved the application fee in June of 2023. The current amendment simply makes explicit reference to there being a requirement for application fees within the rules. So the fee itself has already been approved, but could not be implemented because it wasn't explicitly referenced within the current rules. Now, linked to the fee issue, Chair, was the concern of the process for paying and administering the application fee, where the members requested clarity and transparency. In response to that, Chair, Chair, maybe if I can just project a specific slide, mainly because the two-pager response did not reach members. So the definition of application fee has been expanded to indicate that the fee to be charged is an approved fee and may be subject to amendment from time to time. Certain rule provisions as well were refined. For example, section 7, subsection 6, that payment will only be required once an application is assessed as adequate. In addition, we've also proposed that a dedicated application fees procedure be published as a supporting document to the rules. And this is to avoid overloading the rules themselves and therefore requiring amendments to the rules on an often basis. And then this procedure, Chair, will then outline the appropriate procedures to follow, including the applicable fees and when your application will be regarded as complete for further processing. So that is just what I'm showing here on the slide in terms of the new additions post the pre-hearing that we had. And then finally, Chair, with respect to the concern on barriers to entry that could arise as a result of the documents required for the demonstration of financial ability, particularly for the new entrants. Here, Chair, would just like to provide clarity that applicants will not be required to submit a single rigid form of proof. Instead, what we've put in the rules and what the rules allow for is any appropriate combination of financial documentation, which can include your project models and projected financials and provisional letters of intent or support. So, Chair, we have in a way duly considered the members' concerns and we've incorporated changes and enhancements where applicable. With that said, Chair, we therefore recommend for approval the amendment of the rules attached as Annexure 1, noting the additional revised amendments post the pre-hearing. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I note the recommendation which is on page 8 of 101, which reads thus: it is recommended that the Petroleum Pipeline Subcommittee considers and approves the amendment of the rules made in terms of Section 33, subsection 3 of the Petroleum Pipelines Act, Act number 60 of 2003, which is here to attach as Annexure 1. Any questions, comments, guidance, members, or by show of hands, please? I don't see any hands. I will then move to the adoption, the voting. By show of hands, members, if you support the approval. Thank you, Madam Kavenda. Thank you, Madam Maseti. Thank you, Mr. Machola. Thank you, Mr. Sibanda. Thank you, Madam CEO. I also support. Let's then proceed to the next agenda item. You've got the approval, Madam Mahamata, which is the VOPEC South Africa Development P2I Ltd's prudency review for the petroleum storage and pipeline facility in Jameson Park, Lesedi local municipality in the Gauteng province. Over to you, Mr. Ndlovu.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, members and colleagues. The purpose of this report is to request the PPS to approve the report on the prudency assessment conducted on VOPEC for its petroleum storage and pipeline facilities in Jameson Park, Gauteng province, attached here to as an Extra A. Chair, we assessed the construction contracts and information provided by VOPEC based on the approved NERSA prudency guidelines. The assessment focused mainly on 5 key deliverables, namely deliverable 1, talking to the procurement process followed by VOPEC in procuring its construction services. Deliverable 2 talks to the findings on the original cost of the contracts and the cost escalations thereof. Deliverable 3 deals with how the project risks were managed and allocated between VOPEC and its contractors. Deliverable 4 dealt with the construction timelines and compliance with NERSA's construction license conditions. And the last deliverable, Chair, being the assessment of the imprudent or prudent amount. The findings are provided on page 23 of 25 to page 25 of 25 of the report. There were no imprudent amounts determined on the construction of the facilities. VOPEC followed its procurement processes in tendering and awarding the contracts. The initial cost and cost escalations were justified and found to be within industry norms. The project risks were fairly allocated amongst the contractors and VOPEC and were found to be within sound business practices. And Chair, the construction timelines, Chair, VOPEC had challenges in commencing construction upon receipt of the environmental authorization. However, Chair, there were no financial implications as VOPEC had not made a final investment decision to the project. It is therefore recommended that the PPS approves the report attached here to as an Extra A. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ndlovu. The recommendation is on page 10 of 25, which reads thus: it is recommended that the PPS approves the prudence assessment report on VOPEC Lesedi project attached here to as an Extra A. Any comments, questions, guidance from members by show of hands, please? I don't see any hands. Maybe then move to the approval. Oh, there I see Mr. Sibanda's hand. Over to you, sir.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Chair, maybe just to say well done to the team for doing this work internally. Something that was done by external parties previously. I think it's good to see that there has been a transfer of skills internally. So well done, team, and keep it up. It might be useful perhaps at some point just for confidence purposes, perhaps to maybe subject what we have done to external scrutiny, just to give confidence that going forward, yes, we are on the right track. But so far so good. Maybe 1 or 2 questions from my side. I think when we look at the construction timelines and compliance with license conditions, where we say that the licensee took so many months to complete the construction, we should indicate what was the original timeline, or whether that period was within the license conditions, because it's not clear reading through whether those timelines were actually within the license conditions. And then the variation amounts on table 2. I'm looking at table 2 of the cover submission. Again, it would be useful to perhaps indicate what was provided for in terms of allowable variations, and also just to indicate the percentages in that particular table. If you can perhaps have a column that just shows the percentage variation, but also whether that is within, or what is it that the contract provided for. If we're saying that it is within what's allowed in terms of the contract, what is it that the contract provided for? So it's not clear. I think it's just written in general terms, and I think we could be more specific on those issues. Other than that, Chair, I'm happy and do support the recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sibanda. And I think, team, I hope you hear that the member is actually commending you for the good work done, and keep it up, improve. As you always say, that be on a continuous improvement path. I take it that those matters that are for enhancement, you take them as such, and EM as together with the leadership of the division, please ensure that we do that kind of peer review equivalent to ensure that we can really say that what we are doing can withstand scrutiny by experts in the field. And I think the other comment, like providing what the range is before saying that something is within range, that is very critical. So to don't talk in general terms. The rest, over to you to respond. I see Mr. Mhlojana, you've got your hand up. May you please respond.
Thank you, Chair and members, and thank you to Mr. Sibanda, I think, for the observations as well as enhancements. I just wanted to add on what he just said, and I think apologies to the members. We were supposed to indicate that percentage allowable variance or variation orders. The industry dictates that one needs to be between 10% and 20% increase of cost, especially for projects of this magnitude or the capital investment. In this case, the VOPEC were between 10 and 20, which 20% increase, which was allowable. I think they were sitting at 13% increase. So indeed, I think next time we will put that one so that at least we indicate what the industry allows or dictates. And then also on the issue of the timelines, yes, we will include it, I think, in the next time, where we will put in the baseline construction program versus the actual construction program. But I think the beauty about what VOPEC did was that they didn't allow contractors to be on site before the environmental authorizations were approved and given to them, because normally that tends to escalate the construction cost. Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to add, but thank you very much for the comments from Mr. Sibanda.
Thank you very much, Mr. Msochani. Mr. Sibanda, just by thumbs up if you are covered. Thank you. I can see that you are covered, and we'll then proceed and vote on the recommendation, which I've already read through. By show of hands, members, if you support the recommendation. Thank you, Mr. Machola, Madam Kavenda, Mr. Sibanda, Madam Maseti. I also support. Thank you, Advocate Chole. This then concludes item 7 on the prudency assessment of the VOPEC Lesedi project. We will then move to the item 8, which are the guidelines on tariff differentiation features acceptable to NERSA. Let's initially send for approval, but is now here for noting. Over to you, Mr. Mahlang.
Thank you, Chair. The purpose of this submission is to request the PPS members to note the update on the guidelines on tariff differentiation features acceptable to NERSA. Section 4.2 of the Petroleum Pipelines Delegation Matrix, approved on 27 November 2025, allows the PPS to approve final rules, FAQs, guidelines, and similar matters. The public hearing, initially scheduled for 10 February 2026, was postponed due to the non-availability of PPS members due to commitments with other NERSA business. The public hearing to discuss the draft rules and guidelines on tariffs differentiation was subsequently convened on 9 March 2026. Only Sasol Oil registered for the oral presentations at the public hearing. In the main, Sasol Oil expressed concerns with the guidelines and made proposals for the enhancement of the guidelines. As a way forward, Sasol Oil committed to the following in order to assist NERSA to incorporate their proposals. Firstly, Sasol Oil will provide detailed clarification regarding the legal interpretation between differentiation and discrimination. Sasol Oil will provide a description of the competitive constraints or bottlenecks relevant to differentiation. Sasol Oil will provide specific proposals on objective and justifiable grounds for differentiation or discrimination. And Sasol Oil will provide its views regarding the application of Section 28 factors on upfront differentiation factors. In conclusion, Chair, to ensure that the issues highlighted above are addressed and find explicit expression in the guidelines, members are requested to note that NERSA's technical team is enhancing the guidelines and that the updated guidelines will be presented for approval at the April PPS meeting. Thanks for the opportunity, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mahlang. Members, any questions, comments, guidance? Noting that the matter was deliberated at the public hearing as well as at the our post-hearing meeting, just to outline the way forward. Advocate Chole.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thanks to the presenter. Chairperson, mine is just one point on the recommendations. So I take it that the recommendations are not for approval, but for noting, noting that there's still some information that we are expecting from Sasol to be evaluated and, when necessary, be included in the final document. Am I correct, Chairperson? Thank you.
Yes. Mr. Sibanda? Thank you, Madam CEO. Mr. Sibanda.
Yes, Chair. Chair, I just have one question regarding one of the guideline principles, and that is required capacity. Have we thought about the unintended consequences of including required capacity as one of the differentiation or differentiating features, because these can actually be used to hoard capacity or to foreclose competitors, unless, of course, it is accompanied by telco pay clause or provision. But I'm a bit uncomfortable with that particular one. I'm fine with the rest, but perhaps if I can be assisted by the team, and whether thought has gone into possible adverse impacts of that particular feature. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sibanda. Mr. Mahlang and the team, may you please respond?
Thank you, Chair. To further add to your response to Advocate Sitole, is that at the public hearing, Sasol Oil was given 7 days to provide these written responses. The team will monitor these timelines to ensure that we incorporate the proposals. To the question from Mr. Sibanda, we take it as an enhancement. Initially, when the team considered this feature, it had not had foresight of the adverse impact that required capacity might have. But as we are gonna update the guidelines, we'll make sure that this concern finds expression in the guidelines. Thank you, Chair.
I'm just concerned that it's not, if I'm not mistaken, it's not for the first time that this is raised. I think it is important to quite explicitly deal with managing that risk of hoarding and foreclosure. Having said that, members, by show of hands, if you support the noting of the progress with regard to these rules. Thank you, Madam Kavenda. Thank you, Mr. Machola. Thank you, Madam CEO. Thank you, Mr. Sibanda. I also support the noting. I'm not so sure, Madam Massetti. I know we've got connection challenges, but the majority has noted, so we then proceed on that basis. The progress on the rules has been noted, Mr. Mahlang. We then move to the item 9, which is the Petroleum Pipeline Stakeholder Engagement and Advocacy Plan for the 2026-27 financial year. Mr. Sintumule.
Thank you, Chairperson and the REC members. Firstly, I just want to apologize because when I was looking at the structure of the agenda items, the items, they're not in order which I was expecting, but I take that responsibility. But I will try to my best. And also on the issue of authority, RSU advised me to attend to that issue and make sure that I populate the proper delegation authority, so that also I will need to talk to it. this submission is to request the Petroleum Pipeline Subcommittee to note the annual stakeholder engagement and regulatory advocacy plan for 2026-27 financial year. In terms of the delegated authority, as I corrected it because it was amended 27 November last year. Section 1.13 of the Petroleum Pipeline Delegation Matrix of 27 November 2025 states that the PPS may note the status quarterly and progress reports on the information gathered on the petroleum pipelines. On 29 November 2022, the Energy Regulator approved the National Energy Regulator of South Africa Stakeholder Engagement and Advocacy Strategy. As part of the development of the organization strategy, division were required to develop and submit divisional plan outlining the manner in which the stakeholder engagement and regulatory advocacy activity will be implemented and executed on the annual basis. These plans are aligned to the organizational strategy objective and inform the implementation of structured stakeholder and engagement advocacy initiatives across all regulatory divisions. If you can allow me just to go to the plans for this financial year, so since I consider the submission being ready and save time for the members, our plans as PPR for the 2026 financial year are as follows. We will be undertaking annual stakeholder engagement plan. We have a stakeholder engagement with trusted group. These are continuous year-on-year basis, land rep, tariff methodology workshop, regulatory reporting manuals, project on the review of the rolling tariff will continue. I know this has been noted today by the PPS. Audit on the actual tariff charged by licensee is a continuous project. Introduction of the petroleum product bill. This is a status which we will give more details when we go to the regulatory advocacy report, because I'm going to present the report. Another one is stakeholder engagement, which is going to provide what happens during 2025-2026 when it comes to stakeholder engagement. And then a NERSA awareness campaign and fragmented regulation. These are the MOU with TNPA, Ports Regulator and Competition. These form part of our financial year 2026-27, liquid fuel, logistics and infrastructure, among others. Those are the current planned activity for the for PPR division. And as a result of such, it is recommended that the PPS note the annual stakeholder engagement and regulatory advocacy plan for the financial year. On my next coming submission, I'll be deliberating on all the activities which happen and executed during the 2025. And over to you, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sintumule. Members, the recommendation reads thus: it is recommended that the PPS notes the annual stakeholder engagement and regulatory advocacy plan for the 2026-27 financial year. Any questions, comments, guidance from members? By show of hands, please. If not, by show of hands, members, that you support the recommendation as presented. Thank you, Madam Kavenda. Thank you, Advocate Tole. Thank you, Mr. Machola. Thank you, Mr. Sibanda. I also support the recommendation to note. Thank you. This then concludes item 9 and takes us to item 10.
Thank you again, Chairperson. The purpose of this submission is to request the Petroleum Pipeline Subcommittee to note the annual PPR report on regulatory advocacy aimed at the improvement of the regulatory framework provided through legislation, published government policies, and methodology for the petroleum pipeline industry. Section 1.13 of the Petroleum Pipeline Delegation Matrix of 27 November 2025 states that the PPS may note the status quarterly and progress reports on information gathered on petroleum pipeline activities. In its strategy for financial year for 25-26, NERSA decided to include regulatory policy advocacy as one of the key elements to focus on delivering its value proposition. This resulted in advocacy becoming one of the key performance area and being included on sub-program during the 2025 financial year. The submission also responds to stakeholder and regulatory plan noted by the PPS on 11 March 2025. On the activities on deliberation, I will just indicate because during the previous first financial year, we didn't have much deliberation with the DMRE, but on 5.6, I've attached the project milestone, which indicated that socio-economic impact assessment has been completed 23 February. Economic sector employment infrastructure development cluster approved by 11 March 2025. The CRC case of vocabulary approval done on 8 February 2025, ESCO approval 19 February, and also your submit to Parliament is proposed during the 2026 financial year. The only challenge we had here within the regulatory advocacy, we were unable to meet with the DMPR on the issue which have to do with the fragmented regulation. And as a result of that, we have requested that we escalate the issue to the level of the FTRM to ensure that we get a hearing when we are deliberating such matters. But also with the DMRE, we are planning, we've got the Petroleum Pipeline Act, which is being reviewed during the 26-27 financial year, which I've quoted it here. So we are planning on that. Concurrently, we are working on the CS. CS will be submitted to the DMPR end of March. So that's the deliberation which occurred during on the regulatory advocacy. So as a result of that, it is recommended that the PPS note the submission of the regulatory advocacy aim at improving the regulatory framework provided through legislation, published government policies and methodology for the petroleum pipeline industry. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sintumule. I note that I've moved to item 10. We're gonna go back to item 9 after we've dealt with this item, which is for regulatory advocacy. The recommendation is as stated, being thus, it is recommended that the PPS notes the submission on regulatory advocacy aimed at improving the regulatory framework provided through legislation, published government policies and methodologies for the petroleum pipelines industry. Document is here for noting. Any questions, comments, guidance from members? I don't see any hands. Here's a hand from Mr. Sibanda. Over to you, sir.
Chair, is there any reason why we are separating these reports? Because let's face it, it's all stakeholder engagement. It all differs on whether you want to raise awareness, educate, inform, or you want to influence policy, legislative outcomes. But end of the day, it's all stakeholder engagement. Yes, the one is advocacy, but I'm just saying, is there a particular reason why we are separating them? I'm not sure, but it might be more efficient really to consider these as one report. And it's just a question, Chair, of if there's a reason why we're separating them. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sibanda. I see that already you've got Madam Twa's hand up. Over to you, Madam.
Thank you, Chair. Maybe we need guidance from our SPM colleagues. I think it is required like that on the APP, maybe for auditing purposes, if they will recognize that it is one report, then we could then combine. But I think as is currently on the APP, it's one regulatory advocacy report and one stakeholder engagement report. But we could get guidance maybe from SPM. Thanks, Mr. Sibanda, for the question.
Yeah, I think without necessarily going to SPM, but SPM would give an opportunity if there's anyone here. The matter was looked at actually at one stage. It was one lumped together, then separated, then lumped together, separated again. The question keeps coming up. There was also the view that there should be concerted effort to look at advocacy as a separate issue, noting the challenges that we had faced, particularly noting that we're a creature of statute, and therefore there is this need to focus on providing feedback to the policymaker and seeking that the policymaker helps in terms of defining the perimeter walls within which we need to exercise the mandate. Hence, then the need for that focus. Whilst at the same time, there is this whole issue of stakeholders who are licensees, prospective licensees, members of the public in general, and having to look at them also differently, just a kind of more focus and to not find ourselves clouding the issue. But the matter that you are raising does have merit. It's more, I would call it more circumstantial, and looking at our peculiar situation to say in this dispensation, it could be prudent to keep separating them the way we do. Thank you. I see that you've got your covered, Mr. Sibanda. Having said that, by show of hands, members, if you do support the recommendation as already read out. Thank you, Madam Kavenda. Thank you, Advocate Stolle. Thank you, Mr. Machola. Thank you, Mr. Sibanda. I also thank you, Madam Maseti. I also support. This then brings us to item 9, just taking a reverse to look at item 9, which is the stakeholder report. Over to you, Mr. Simtumula again.
Thank you, Chairperson. The purpose is to request the Petroleum Pipeline Subcommittee to note the PPR annual stakeholder engagement report geared towards building and strengthening relationship with stakeholder and creating awareness about the PPR mandate and services. In terms of the authority, section 1.13 of the Petroleum Pipeline Delegation Matrix of 27 November 2025 state that the PPS may note the status, quarterly, and progress reports on information gathered on the petroleum pipeline activities. On 28 August 25, NERSA had a meeting with TNPA with regard to section 7079. In terms of the directive, TNPA is set to establish a framework governing the third-party access to storage facility in compliance with the NERSA regulation and the requirements. So, as a result of this, members, if you can allow me not maybe to go deeper on these issues, because maybe some of the issues, I don't know maybe how deep they might be for public platform. Maybe I can propose that some of the detailed report on this matter be shared with the PPS members, maybe through internal report. But I thought I should highlight that we had a meeting with the section 79 of the National Postal Authority for 2005. So that I thought I should share with the members before I go to the main report, which we've executed and approved by members last year, March. So last year, March 2025-26, the PPS noted the plan for the PPR, and this now I'm going to present how we've executed on the plan, which was presented to the members at the time. The first one was the annual stakeholder engagement and workshop live with licensee third-party and access. The stakeholder engagement.
I don't think you need to read through each and every one. Maybe just highlight where it is and the overall state of affairs with regard to this.
Okay. What I can present with all stakeholder plan, we've got only one item which was not executed, which is had to do with a fragmented regulation. But apart from them, you will see that the PPR colleagues have presented different items which were noted today on the PPS. But apart from all of these activities, I can say we have able to conclude 99% of the activities which we agreed with, which were noted by the PPS last year. But the only challenge which we had is the one of DMPR, which we were not able to engage with them until today. Hence, I proposed previously to say we propose that we escalate this issue to the FTRM office so that we got a hearing from DMPR, because when we planned the meeting with the DMPR, usually we don't get response. So it has been a challenge for a while, but now we've taken a decision to escalate this issue to the member PPR FTRM. So as I have been requested that I must be summing up this and consider it as read, it is recommended that the PPS note the report on stakeholder engagement aimed at building and strengthening relationship with stakeholders and creating awareness about PPR mandate and services. Over to you, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Simtumule. The recommendation is as was read out by Mr. Simtumule. Any comments, questions, guidance from members? If none, by show of hands, members, if you support the recommendation as read out, to note. Thank you, Mr. Machola. Thank you, Advocate Tole. Thank you, Mr. Sibanda. Thank you, Madam Governor. I do support the noting. I don't see a hand, Madam Maseti. All right, let's then proceed. On that basis, the recommendation is supported. The report is noted. This then takes us to the item on draft decision, the review of the road tariff approach used in determining Transnet SOC Limited tariff for its Petroleum pipeline system. Mr. Kaba, CFO noting.
Thank you, Chair. Just to note, with the title change a little bit to the progress on the review of the road and tariff approach. Noting that there was an earlier workshop to discuss the issues associated with the report. We are here to ask the PPS to request that they note the progress on the review of the road and tariff approach. Chair, in respect of time, I won't go into much of the submission, noting that it was discussed in the workshop, and just to highlight that there was engagements that we have had and we have highlighted with stakeholders, and they had reflected on the discussion document, and these have found its way into the sorry, excuse me. These had found its way into the draft decision document informing NESA's path or proposed path in this manner, highlighting the inputs from Sasol Oil, Shell, BPSA Engine, IATA, as well as Dr. Crompton's, as well as also establishing NESA views regarding the infrastructure itself, and also conducting macroeconomic impact assessment studies based on the incremental approach, the rolled-in approach, as well as the implementation of a differential or a differentiated tariff, which are all contained in the draft decision document as well. And NESA considerations to this regard in coming up with the proposed recommendation in terms of a hybrid rolled-in approach, which incorporates a differential that considers the distinctness of the pipelines itself. With that said, Chair, we did have consultations also with Sasol, and we have information that is still outstanding, which we deem critical to the final decision itself, and would then be waiting for that information to form part of the final document that will then go out for public consultation. And then subsequent to that, then the decision will then be brought before the energy regulator for approval. With that said, Chair, the recommendation is that PPS notes the progress on the rolled-in tariff, on the review of the rolled-in tariff approach used in calculating the Transnet pipelines tariffs. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kaba. And I note the last part that talks to the issue that the revised discussion document based on the incorporation or due consideration of the comments and inputs from the stakeholders will be published for further comment or engagement, so that then the final product will actually be like accommodating of any other additional comments and inputs from stakeholders that would be getting through that process. Members, any questions, guidance, or comments? Yes, Mr. Sibanda.
Chair, can I just get clarity on what's required of us? I'm not quite clear. Because I hear you, Chair, talking about a document that's going to be published. Now, if you look at the recommendations, they say we should note the progress on the review and then note the draft decision. So I'm not too sure what's required of us at this stage, Chair. If you can please clarify. Thanks.
At this stage, as you'll appreciate, Mr. Spanner, sometimes you put these processes as part of project planning so that they flow smoothly. But sometimes when there is a hiccup in one, it then affects the whole process. But in essence here is to note the progress with regard to this review, and then the draft decision or the position as of now that is being leaning towards as a regulator, which is going to be come back and serve here for public consultation, because all the comments that were made during the workshop and during the public hearing are going to be incorporated, and then we issue the document out for further input. I think just maybe to clarify issues, we may do away with 14.1.2, because that will be part of the recommendation for approval for the publication of the document for further stakeholder engagement, if that is fine with you. We just note the progress only.
Yeah, agreed, Chair. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Okay, members, reading out the recommendation, which is to note the progress on the review of the roading tariff approach used in determining Transnet SOC Limited's tariffs for its Petroleum pipeline system. As already discussed by show of hands, members. If you support the recommendation, thank you, Mr. Machola, Madam Kavenda, Mr. Sibanda, Advocate Tole. I also support. Just check with Madam Maseti, Madam Masongan.
Chair, she has network issues, so when she raises her hand, sometimes it delays. So she requested that she will type her comments, and then I'll notify you when she types.
Okay, no, thank you. This anyway concludes item 12 and brings us to item 13, which is a report on fuel transportation tariffs comparison, which is a progress report in essence. Mr. Kaba.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, in this one, the purpose is to request the PPS to note the progress report on the fuel transportation tariffs comparison. The report looked into the MPP utilization, which has been observed to be declining at around 56 to 64%, as more and more customers prefer using a road due to cost the advantages and I think thereof. These are driven by the primary and secondary storage charges. The primary objective of this study, to put it in inverted commas, is to conduct a holistic analysis of the comparison of fuel transportation tariffs across the three principal modes, which is pipeline, road, and rail, for moving fuel from the coast entry points, and notably the Island View precinct in Durban, and to the inland economic heartland, particularly Gauteng. The study delves into the underlying cost structures and the prevailing regulatory frameworks that govern the movement of fuel, with a specific focus on the underlying key cost drivers and systematic inefficiencies within the current fuel transportation system. Jay, we've started with the cost comparison summary, and this is presented in a document from pages 4 to 6 of the document, where it shows the cost associated with transporting fuels for independent international oil companies and independents, rather, via the pipeline as well as rail and road itself. Sorry. The structural issues identified pertain to the collapse in rail transport, which eliminates modal competition, as well as the minimum batch or slug requirements, which disadvantages small customers small players, and also road freight externalities, which are accountable to accidents, emissions, and road infrastructure conditions, and those are all borne by the state, and also the increases in the MPP as well worsen the competitiveness as well, and also cited the limited legislative mandate as well, which prevents NESA from obtaining full road volume data. So those are the other challenges that we've seen. In terms of the observations, is that in terms of the tariff methodology, which is volume sensitive, and the declining volumes which lead to the rise in tariffs themselves, also exacerbate the conditions for the results that we have that we have presented, and also the industry states that the pipeline tariff is too high, and giving sentiments as to the tariff being like a price subsidy for Transnet. And we as NESA have acknowledged the misalignment between the cost reflective design and as well as the market behavior. There's also recommendations that we put forth in the document as well. But just to highlight, Chair, that this report, based on the limited information that we could find, hence we are naming it as a progress report. We intend to go into a further deep dive, also incorporate the recent developments in terms of the Section 79 directives that have been announced by the minister as well. With that said, Chair, it is recommended that the PPS note the progress report on the fuel transportation tariffs comparison. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Kava. I did give you some leeway to continue. Yeah. I've got now the opportunity to ask members if we've got any comments, questions, or guidance with respect to this item. By show of hands, please. As I don't see any hands, may we then move to the recommendation, which is to note, as already stated by Mr. Kava, where we're saying that when you go to page 18 of 18, it reads thus: it is recommended that the PPS notes the progress report on fair transportation tariffs comparison. By show of hands, members, if you support the noting. Thank you, Madam Kavenda. Thank you, Mr. Machola. Thank you, Mrs. Banda. Thank you, Advocate Stolle. I also support. This then concludes item 13, and it takes us directly to item 14, which is a report on deliverable 1 of prudence assessment of Transnet SOC Limited's multi-product pipeline assets. Over to you, Madam Sibake.
I'll be presenting, Chair, with Mr. Kava. Chair, with this one, we wanted the PPS to note this report on deliverable 1 of the prudency assessment for the Transnet multi-product pipeline assets. The report forms part of the broader prudency review that was initiated by NERSA to test the efficiency and prudency of assets operationalized after March 2018. Just a little bit of the background, maybe for members. The MPP was constructed in following the 2007 license for a 24-inch line from Durban to Jameson Park, and the initial forecast for I think I won't mention the initial forecast since it's a public meeting. Were escalated significantly due to delays, scope changes, procurement challenges, technical failures, and adverse weather. And as a result, NERSA chose to put a hold on the amount that can be capitalized in terms of the regulatory asset base, pending a prudency verification. An initial prudency assessment was then completed and ultimately incorporated into the tariff application at an amount that is presented in the document, and that was declared imprudent and incorporated into the tariff application for the 2021-22 financial year. In terms of the deliverable 1 scope, which looks into the contracting strategies and risk allocation assessments, since the inclusion of the initial assessment, Transnet have commissioned additional infrastructure and incorporated into the RAB. This includes part of the TM1 tightlining, certain assets that feed into TM2, a part of the deferred scope, as well as the sub-ref replacement tanks. Just to note that the TM1 tanks were also earmarked for construction. However, in recent discussions or submissions by Transnet, it has been indicated that they might abandon the project altogether. And this was part of the reason why we had not fully done the second part of the prudency assessment itself. It was in anticipation of the completed construction of the TM1 tanks, which are now in doubt. In terms of the report, the key findings from the information that we did eventually gather from Transnet itself, in terms of there were significant contracts recorded specifically under the construction of the replacement tanks project, with a recorded number of 27 compensation events indicating scope deficiencies, reactive change management, and administrative delays. The risks include contractor-borne major perils and unknown underground conditions. And in terms of the contracting, the type of contract was the NE3 option A lump sum contract assigned to major perils and unknown underground conditions, which borne entirely to the contractor, causing defensive claims and change of events. The employer side delays and contradictory instructions exacerbated some of the costs associated with the project. There were observations of high cost of overrun exposures and schedule risks, and weaknesses in governance, project management, and contract administration. The early indicators then point to potential imprudent expenditure, which require a full quantitative review. Deliverable 1 then identifies material deficiencies in Transnet's contracting, risk management, and project execution, and these findings then justify the continued prudency testing within subsequent deliverables. With that said, Chair, it is recommended that the PPS notes the report on deliverable 1 of the prudency assessment of the Transnet assets. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Kawa. Members, any questions, comments, guidance on the matter? I don't see any hands. I will then proceed to the recommendation, which states thus: it is recommended that the PPS notes the report on deliverable 1 of the prudence assessment of Transnet SOC Limited's assets. By show of hands, members, if you support the recommendation. Thank you, Mr. Sibanda. Thank you, Advocate Chole. Thank you, Madam Kavenda. Thank you, Mr. Machola. I also support. This then dispenses of item 14, takes us to item 15, which is the publication of tariffs set or approved by the National Energy Regulator of South Africa for petroleum pipelines, storage and loading facilities. It is the tariff booklet as of March 31st, 2026, the 2025 on the heading, so it's incorrect. But otherwise, I will then give Madam Bogo and her team opportunity to present on this one. I don't know whether it's Madam Kosi or Madam Msomi.
It's Madam Msomi, sir.
Proceed, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. The purpose of this submission is to request the PPS members to note and approve the publication of the updated tariff block booklet on the NERSA website. In the 2025-2026 financial year, NERSA considered a tariff application. The tariff approved in the 2025-2026 financial year provided in paragraph 5.1 and highlighted in yellow in Annexure A. Table 1 and 2 on page 6 provide a list of facilities with no tariffs, and compliance will be enforced as per the Petroleum Pipelines Regulation Compliance Framework. It should be noted that non-compliance levels have improved from 16% in the 2019-2020 financial year to 2% in the 2025-2026 financial year. It is therefore recommended that the PPS members note and approve the publication of Annexure A on the NERSA website. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Madam Somi. The recommendation reads thus: it is recommended that the Petroleum Pipeline Subcommittee notes the updated tariff booklet and approves the publication of the updated tariff booklet on NERSA website, attached here to as Annex A. Questions, comments? Madam Cavender?
Thank you, Chair. I don't know if it was just me, but I didn't have Annex A uploaded in my convene.
Thank you for that. Any member with the, well, all members having the same problem?
Yes, Chair.
Thank you. Madam Asangani?
Chair, can I please share the annexure on email?
May you please get all these administrative things right, so that we don't have this kind of hiccups. I do appreciate that the agenda is long, the documents are many, and even members, when they go through the pack, some of these things they would fall between the cracks in terms of alerting you thereon. Because myself, I also work on the documents that I had gone through my office over and above the pack. So please, let's make sure. Let's keep this one. We'll then revert to it later. Let's go to item 16, which is the inlet security of supply, multiple pipeline forecast.
Thank you, Chair.
Over to Dr. Polo.
Good morning, everyone, including our key stakeholders joining us via various digital platforms. I propose we take the report as read. However, I would like to highlight two brief points regarding Section 79 directive and the current Transnet pipelines projections. For the sake of full transparency and to ensure that I'm not later seen to have withheld vital information from this body, I wish to indicate briefly and at a high level that there are a significant risk regarding Section 79 directive. And this span to at least four areas, but I'm not going to cover the areas. That said, I trust that when Section 79 report is eventually presented to members, it will provide a comprehensive overview of the associated risk. For the purpose of this inland security of supply submission, however, I suggest we assume an ideal scenario where everything is above board. If we proceed on this basis, that implementation will go exactly as planned, it sort of underscores just how vital NERSA's role is in monitoring MPP volumes, as we currently doing. We have not simply waited for the official commencement date in terms of the Section 79 directive. We have already begun investigating in terms of if there's been any sudden climb by the petroleum industry to move stock via pipeline before the Section 79 implementation date of 1 April 2026. If we look at the data across three distinct periods in figure A4, which is on page 14 of 16, we have not yet observed any major shift, but we are continuing to monitor this closely. I should also mention that we have recently received data up to February. The data that is in the report, it covers up until December. So in terms of, we have sort of updated the figures for the last three financial years, which are used in figure A4. And still there are no significant changes that have been observed. Finally, regarding the report itself, I'm pleased to note that Transnet Pipeline's volume estimates are now much closely aligned with NERSA's. If members that were part of the meeting in September 2025, there was a 5% discrepancy between our figures. That gap has now narrowed up to just 2%. In the report, the reason for this convergence has been provided. It's on page 15, paragraph 44. But I'm also happy to state that it was a good move for Transnet to revise their projections, because based on cumulative data from April to February this year, they've already exceeded what they had projected in September 2025. So it was a good move for them to revise their projection. With that said, I would like the members to note the Inland Sector of Supply report. I'm happy to answer any questions that will be posed by members. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dr. Tolo. Any comments, questions, guidance from members? I don't see any hands. From my side, on what you have said, is that then it's important for the participation, full participation on these Section 79 discussions, and ensuring that NERSA plays its rightful role in those platforms. And also to highlight the fact that when it comes to forecasting, we may state that they are doing better, because in terms of doing better, it means they are becoming more conservative in their predictions or forecasting than to be more on the optimistic side of things. Because even when you are more conservative, it doesn't mean that your forecasting is improving. It could be that you are erring on the more cautious side, which itself does not necessarily amount to improved forecasting. They need to be narrowing that margin. I think that's over and above looking talk to the margin of error or the discrepancy or the variance as you look at the actual versus forecast. I will leave it at that. This is just for consideration going forward in terms of the outlook. Members, I don't see any hands regarding your comments, so can we then please move to the recommendation? Just trying to get to the recommendation. Can you help me with the recommendation, Dr. Polo? Because you've got, I see the conclusion here.
The report is for noting, sir. It's just to note, for members to note the Inland Sector of Supply report.
Yeah, if you can just, in terms of crafting, because it doesn't, we need to be clear with the recommendation, which is the noting of the report regarding the security of supply. Members, by show of hands, if you support the recommendation. Thank you, Mr. Machola, Madam Govender, Advocate Tole. I also do support. Thank you, Mr. Sibanda, also. This then concludes item 16, and we proceed to item 17, infrastructure utilization and third-party access to petroleum storage facilities. As for here for noting, Dr. Polo, is it Mabije?
Yes, sir. It's Madam Mabije.
Okay. Madam Mabiche, over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, members and colleagues, as well as members of the public. I will take the submission as read. Its purpose is to request the PPS to note the second submission for the financial year 25-26, reporting on the analysis of infrastructure utilization to determine uncommitted capacity and third-party access at petroleum storage facilities. The analysis includes volume reports, which were submitted to us from April 2025 up to December 2025. And in the analysis, it is indicated that for this period, a total volume of 35,251,985 cubic meters was received at our licensed storage facilities, with about 52% of this proportion received in storage facilities in KwaZulu-Natal province. And from this number, 64% is apportioned to integrated oil companies storing fuel at their own facilities, and 35.4% is apportioned to integrated and non-integrated companies as third parties. And then from this proportion, 11.5% is the total volume for non-integrated emerging oil companies or new entrants or emerging participants. It is also key to note that in the previous financial year 24-25, and as reported at the PPS of March 2025, the level of third-party access for emerging oil companies or emerging participants was 9.5%. Therefore, access for emerging oil companies has increased by 2% in this current reporting period. And as indicated in Table 1 of the submission, Annexure A, a total of 87 storage facilities have been identified to have uncommitted capacity. Therefore, Chairperson, it is recommended that the PPS notes this submission as stated on page 9 of 23, paragraph 15. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mabiche. Paragraph 15.1 reads thus: it is recommended that the PPS notes the second submission for the 2025-26 financial year, reporting on the analysis of infrastructure utilization to determine uncommitted capacity and third-party access at petroleum storage facilities. Any questions, comments, guidance to provide to the team members? By show of hands, please. I don't see any hands. By show of hands, members, if you support the recommendation as read out. Thank you, Mr. Machola, Madam Kavenda, Advocate Stolen. I also support, and thanks, Mr. Sibanda too. This then dispenses of item 17, taking us to item 18, which is the biannual report on the monitoring and enforcement of compliance with construction license conditions by Mr. Lukele. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Chairperson, and good morning to everyone. The purpose of this item is twofold. Firstly, is to request the PPS to note the progress report on NESA license construction projects and the current status of licensees' compliance. And secondly, is to request the PPS to approve a final non-compliance findings against Lanele for not starting construction within the timeline stipulated in its license condition, as well as failing to submit the required 6-monthly progress report. And this approval, Chair, will enable NESA to issue a final notice of non-compliance to the licensee. And just the key issues to highlight, Chair, since the last report are summarized from paragraph 5.5 of the cover submission. And maybe the only thing to highlight there is that the final scope of the Transnet project remains a significant concern, with no progress recorded to date, and the project now being considered for termination, as also indicated during the consideration of item 14. On the TPL prudency progress report. And with regards to compliance levels, from reporting perspective, stand at 92%, with only 2 licensees having failed to submit the required progress reports. And both these projects, Chair, relates to projects that have not yet commenced construction. And on the construction timeline side, we have 4 licensees that are currently non-compliant with their license conditions, and only 1 has applied for an extension, which is currently being processed. The remaining 3 are undergoing the non-compliance process, and one of these is at the final stage before referral to the tribunal. And this, Chair, brings me to the final point, which is the recommendation for the PPS to approve the issuance of a notice to Lanele. Chair, please note the correction to paragraph 5.11, and the correct approval date for the delegation matrix, Chair, there is November 2025, as stated in paragraph 3.1 in the same submission. In summary, Chair, Lanele has previously been issued with letters directing it to remedy non-compliance as per the delegation matrix. Although an amendment application was submitted, it was incomplete, and the licensee failed to provide outstanding information despite multiple reminders. The notice being recommended it's provided for by Section 25(1) of the Petroleum Pipelines Act. Chairperson, the recommendations are contained on page 8, paragraph 14 of the submission, and they align with the purpose I've outlined earlier. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lukele. For the record, the recommendation under paragraph 14.1, it says that it is recommended that the PPS notes the biannual report on the monitoring and enforcement of compliance with construction license conditions attached here to as Annexure 1 on the progress made on the projects licensed by NERSA and the level of compliance by the licensees. And secondly, approves the final finding of non-compliance by Lanele and the issuance of a notice to Lanele for failing to commence with construction by October 2023, stipulated in its license condition, and failure to submit progress report due by 7th October 2025 against Lanele with respect to its license with the number PPL SF F1 34D 2021, and issuance of a notice to Lanele for failure to commence with construction by October stipulated in its license condition, and submit a progress report due by November 2025. That is how the recommendation reads. Any additions, comments, or guidance from members? Please, by show of hands. I'll start off with Madam Kavenda, followed by Mr. Sibanda. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Chair. Specifically in relation to the second recommendation, 14.1.2, in the event that we approve it and the final finding of non-compliance is issued to Lanele, what does the team envisage the next steps to be? How will the procedure unfold following that? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Kavenda. Mr. Sibanda, over to you, sir.
Yeah, Chair. I think it's good to see action being taken against non-compliance. However, I just wanted confirmation that the process that we are undertaking is what is envisaged in the legislation. And I don't know whether there has been input from our legal colleagues, or if there's a legal person within PPR, just to make sure that we are taking action in accordance with the stipulated processes. And that we followed all the necessary steps Yeah, thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sibanda. Advocate Chole, over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thanks to the presenter. Chair, mine is just an issue of clarity in relation to the timing of the notices. We have issued the first one in April last year, and it's almost a year if I don't count this month of March. And that will be a year after the first one if we approve the issuance of this final one. Is there a time frame in terms of after how long can we issue the final one following the issuance of the first one? Otherwise, I think it's something that we need to clarify such that we don't delay the issuing of final notices in any matter where we are required to do so. Thanks, Jackson.
Thank you very much, members. May you please respond with the assistance of Mr. Mbetsi, being the legal person from LAS allocated to the division. Over to you for responses.
Oh, thank you, Chair. And maybe if I may go first. Then thank you, members, for the comments and the questions. Maybe I will start with this Banda's question in terms of the confirmation. And maybe to some extent, then it will also address Mr. Stole's question in terms of clarity on the timing. Chair, we have followed, maybe what will be noted, the non-compliant started from October 2023. So what we have done in the process to ensure that we follow our process as stipulated in the approved compliance framework, which I must indicate it's being reviewed. We send all the required reminders to the licensee, and at the time they applied to amend, and that application was declared incomplete and they became non-responsive. This was during the duration of 2024. Following that, we issued the 3 non-compliance letters directing the licensee to comply as required as well by our compliance framework. And as Mr. Story indicated, maybe allow me to use the preliminary notice as provided for in the delegation matrix was then issued to Lanele. That resulted in them resubmitting a revised amendment application. And following that, from that point, there was back and forth in terms of ensuring that the application that is submitted is complete. And that, unfortunately, was then not complete. And we sent them numerous reminders to just get the complete information that is required. And that was not submitted. Hence now, the recommendation, and this is tried to be fair before the referral to a tribunal to give them a final notice. And this final notice was all give the licensee time to remedy the non-compliance. And then responding to the next steps that are envisaged, should the licensee still fail to comply with the notice, will then be the matter then to be referred to the tribunal. Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Winted, I saw your hand was up.
Thank you, Chair. I think Mr. Lukele outlined it well. Maybe just to add, this matter has been a matter in litigation for 3-4 years between Transnet and the party. So yeah, that has been part of the complication, but I think just to link it to what was the expectation, as Ms. Govender said it, then typically what's happened in the past when we've issued Section 25s, and I recall 2 or 3 previous ones, then the parties either comply by then trying to remedy it, but then after submitting a long legal document from their lawyers explaining all the challenges with Transnet and what's happening there, they then just become non-responsive. So we followed and our process is very generous, as Mr. Lukele indicated. in next year, in the next financial year, the review of this procedure will be done to not extend it over such a long period. But it's a question of sending, responding, becoming non-responsive. CEO, that is why it has taken this long, but we're now moving ahead. And then if they fail to remedy, then this will then probably be will be the first petroleum tribunal since NERSA's inception that they will have to follow if they don't comply.
Thanks. I thought there'll be just a direct response to some of the questions. So, like, for example, the step that should fall after this is that we'll have to have a tribunal presiding over this matter and make a final decision. In terms of the timelines, you say, how long does it take? Excuse me, because the date I'm told is corrected to the 7th of November in terms of the progress report not provided, is that we should include the fact that normally the law refers to a reasonable period for responding. So actually the process can be long or short depending on the nature of the non-compliance and the period given to comply therewith. Let's deal with these matters directly when responding, because there are certain questions that have been posed by members, and let us respond directly to those questions, and then, but not barring you from providing the context and background. Madam Cavender, back to you.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to make a suggestion from a governance point of view. I think that, the title of the submission is biannual report on the monitoring and enforcement of compliance with construction license conditions. And the Lanele matter, which is an important separate matter, is included in this report. I think they should be separate reports. So going forward, the biannual M&E report should be treated separately to findings of non-compliance against licensees, because that is a substantive issue that needs to be really sort of analyzed, including the legal implications, the legal processes followed, as Mr. Sibanda made the point. So I don't think it should be lost in a standard reporting report. Thank you. Because one is for noting, the other is recommending the course of action for us to take. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Madam Cavender. I support the recommendation that when it comes to the report itself, issues of non-compliance need to be included, but then the taking action against the parties not complying should be dealt with separately, so that there is a focus around that, and all the requisite documents and processes and procedures could be clearly articulated therein. Members to support the stance, because I think it is an important stance to take and agree on. Just by show of hands, members, if you accept that stance as proposed by Madam Cavender. Thank you, Advocate Tole. Thank you, Mr. Sibanda. Thank you, Mr. Majola. I also support that, as I said earlier on. But then back to the issue. I'm not so sure if members you are adequately addressed. You can just do a thumbs up if you are adequately addressed, noting the latter comment. Thank you, Mr. Sibanda. With that then brings us back to the thanks, Madam Cavender. CEO, are you covered? Yes, thank you. This then takes us to the recommendation itself. If you support the recommendation, by show of hands, members. Thank you, Madam Kavenda. Thank you, Mr. Machola. Thank you, Advocate Tole. Thank you, Mr. Sibanda. I also support. Then we move on to it's item 19, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me. Item 19, biannual report on the monitoring and enforcement of compliance with operation license conditions. I think that same stance that you adopted with regard to construction license conditions, the monitoring and enforcement of compliance therewith, applies also with the operation license conditions. Over to you, Mr. Mapoli.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, members and colleagues. The purpose of the report is to request PPS to note the second biannual report for 2025-26 financial year on the level of compliance by licensees with conditions of their operation licenses. The report comprises of the following sections: storage facility volume reporting, which is Regulation 3, allocation mechanism, which is Regulation 3.6, HDSA participation, Regulation 8. Key observation for the reporting period: the storage facility volume report. In terms of the monthly storage facility utilization from bulk facilities that were due to report, the average compliance level for reporting period is at 100%. For allocation mechanism, currently it's 84% of the total number of storage licensees that have launched their allocation mechanism with the energy regulator. For HDSA, the level of compliance in terms of reporting on Regulation 8 is at 96% for the reporting period. When it comes to the site visit conducted, a total of 42 inspections were scheduled for 2025-26 financial year. 10 site inspections were outstanding during the submission of this report, which has been completed after the submission of this report. So all scheduled 42 inspections have been completed as attached in Annex 1. Overall compliance level, the overall compliance level with license condition and regulation in this reporting period is at 93%. It is recommended that the PPS note the second biannual report attached as an Annex 1. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mapoli. The recommendation reads thus: it is recommended that the PPS notes the biannual report attached here to as Annex 1 on the level of compliance by licenses with the conditions of their operation licenses issued for the financial year 2025-26 for the period 31 July 2025 to 31 December 2025. Any comments, questions, guidance, members? I don't see any hands. May you please then, by show of hands, indicate if you support the recommendation as read. Thank you, Madam Kavenda. Thank you, Advocate Tole. Thank you, Mr. Machola. Thank you, Mr. Sibanda. I also support. This then concludes item 19 and takes us directly to item 20, which is the final report on the transitioning of version 8 of the tariff methodology for petroleum pipelines facilities. Over to you, Madam Yogan.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. Taking the submission as read, its purpose is to request the PPS to note the final report on the transitioning of the tariff methodology for petroleum pipelines Version 8 attached here to is Annexure A. Just the key points, the transitioning report or process rather indicates that the newly revised tariff methodology still yields the relatively efficient tariffs compared to those determined using the previous version 7, which is consistent with the findings of the piloting of the tariff methodology. Of note is the successful implementation of the deferment of allowable revenue, as well as the volume risk sharing mechanism elements in the assessments of the tariff applications. Also, in terms of the challenges that we had been noting, in an attempt to address some of the challenges in the PPS of September, we had highlighted that we started implementing an exercise of measuring the cost efficiency of the pipeline network. So we did continue in this time focusing on comparing the 3 main pipelines, and the results of the exercise are contained in Annexure B. Annexure B, which is the report on the measuring of the cost efficiency of the pipeline network, acknowledges that it's not possible nor advisable to set cost minimization targets based on the fully efficient pipeline, as the pipelines vary in terms of the designated product length of each pipeline, the diameter, operational infrastructure, as well as consequently the operational and maintenance requirements, as evidenced by the gaps in operating costs per liter, which are significantly determined by maintenance costs. However, the report does recommend that or suggest that the regulator could consider as a non-enforcement measure advocating for the incumbent pipeline to prioritize cutting costs across all of its pipelines by, for example, making an appropriate and necessary adjustments in the mix of inputs such as the capacity and operational resources in order to minimize costs, given the tariffs set by the regulator. The regulator could also focus on ensuring that the actual volumes of the petroleum pipeline system are at least on par with the licensed minimum feasible operational capacity or volumes as part of the monitoring and compliance process conducted annually. This would ensure that at least the design feasibility point in terms of performance is met, while taking into cognizance that the volumes are at a declining trend, with no foreseeable short-term recovery to pre-COVID volumes. Finally, in terms of the overall transitioning report, any key developments regarding the implementation of the tariff methodology, especially the efficiency adjustment factor element, will be highlighted in the next consideration of the tariff application by Transnet Pipelines. We therefore recommend the noting of the report in terms of the recommendation outlined in paragraph 14 of the cover submission, which is on page 13. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Madam Yokwan. The recommendation reads as follows. it is recommended that the PPS notes the final report on the transition of version 8 of the tariff methodology for petroleum pipelines facilities attached hereto as Annexure A. Members, any questions, comments regarding the submission as presented? By show of hands, please. I don't see any hands. Members, by show of hands, please indicate if you do support the recommendation as read out. Thank you, Mr. Sibanda. Thank you, Mr. Machola. I also support. Thank you, Madam Governor. Thank you, Advocate Tole. This dispenses of item 20, supported by everyone. We then go to item 21, which is a report on the geographic spread of licenses issued for petroleum pipelines infrastructure, a new entrance into the petroleum pipelines industry. This is as at 31st December 2025. Mr. Sokapase, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Chairperson. Members and members of the public. The report before the PPS members pertains to the geographic spread of licenses issued for petroleum pipelines infrastructure and new entrants into the petroleum pipelines industry. Its purpose is primarily to analyze changes that have taken place in the petroleum infrastructure over the past calendar year from a capacity and licensee composition standpoint. Now, considering the licensing activities of the 2025 calendar year, the report made the following key findings. Overall, at the national level, licensing activities in the previous calendar year resulted in minor changes, with total licensed storage capacity increasing by approximately 2.58%. With regards to the ownership of these storage facilities, the picture has not changed materially, as majority of the licensed petroleum infrastructure in the country continues to be owned and operated by the major oil companies. New entrants and independent operators currently own only a handful of storage facilities. In terms of the South Africa's 9 provinces, in only 2 provinces do independent storage owners hold more than 50% of the capacity. In the remaining 7 provinces, the major oil companies' share ranges from 62% to just above 90%. Now, with regards to this, it is recommended that the PPS notes following the report itself, that firstly, this is the first report to account for licensee and facility changes based on the calendar year rather than the financial year. Number 3, that this report reflects a corrected and or updated licensee database with the licensed petroleum infrastructure capacity verified. Number 4, this report be improved to cover the following. Number 1, an analysis be conducted on the geographic distribution and density of storage facilities in each provinces and how this affects the tariffs charged by licensees. Number 2, the petroleum products stored or transported in the petroleum infrastructure be indicated. And lastly, storage facilities be grouped by city or town or area. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sokapase. I note the report and also the recommendation as stated. Maybe these are the key aspects thereof. Maybe it could also suffice to recommend the noting of the overall report, which is attached, and have these as maybe the major issues that are contained in the report. Instead of going to all of them one by one, members, this is just, we could also call that route. These are very important aspects of the report, but we note the overall report. Members, any questions, comments, or guidance you want to provide? By show of hands, please. I don't see any hands. Members, by show of hands, if you support the recommendation to note the attached reports on the geographical spread of licenses issued for petroleum pipelines infrastructure, as well as new entrants into the petroleum pipelines industry for the period 1 January 2025 to 31st December 2025. By show of hands, please. Thank you, Advocate Tole. Thank you, Mr. Sibanda. Thank you, Madam Kavenda. And thank you, Mr. Machola. I also support the noting of this report. This concludes item 21, taking us to item 22. Annual report on the investigation done into suspected unlicensed activities for the 2025-26 financial year. Mr. Lukele, take the matter as read and present the silent features thereof.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. Chair, the purpose of this submission is to request the PPS to note its two items being requested to be noted. One is the annual report itself, and secondly is the FTRM confirmations that certain storage facilities do not require licensing in terms of the Petroleum Pipelines Act, as provided for under the bulk storage determination. And the list of this confirmation, Chair, can be found on table 2 on page 6 and 7 of the report itself, not the cover submission. Chairperson, during this financial year, NERSA continues to receive requests from owners of unlicensed storage facilities seeking confirmation on whether their activities require licensing. And this trend has persisted since the issuance of the bulk storage determination in May 2016. And in this financial year, Chair, in summary, NERSA has confirmed 31 storage facilities with a total design capacity of just under 3,500 cubic meters, not to require licensing. And the average design capacity of these facilities, Chair, it's actually 113 cubic meters, ranging from 8 to 500 cubic meters. And as indicated, the details provided in table 2 on page 6 and 7 of the report, with observations summarized in paragraph 17 of the report. On-site inspections, Chair, paragraph 23 of the report highlights that 7 unlicensed activities were initially inspected, with four more planned in Middleburg and Nelspruit. Chair, by way of an update, a total of 13 additional facilities were inspected in Middleburg, Nelspruit, and also Rocky Drift, bringing the total number of inspections conducted in this year to our licensed facilities to 20. And all inspected facilities, Chair, were confirmed to be non-bulk storage facilities and therefore eligible for exclusion from licensing in terms of the bulk storage determination. Lastly, Chair, an overall summary of facilities excluded from licensing by NERSA since the 2014-15 financial year is provided from paragraph 25 of the report, with the supporting data reflected in table 6 and table 7 in the report. And the list of all facilities determined not to require licensing is attached to the report as Annexure 1. And with that, Chairperson, the recommendations are: 2 is for the committee to note the report, and secondly is to note the FTRM confirmations of non-bulk storage that do not require licensing, as listed in table 2 on page 6 and 7 of the report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lukele. The recommendation reads thus: it is recommended that the PPS notes the annual report on investigations done into suspected unlicensed activities in the 2025-26 financial year, attached here to as Annexure A, and that the FTRM confirmed that certain storage facilities listed in the report do not require licensing in terms of the Act as provided for by the bulk storage determination. By show of hands, members, if we have any questions, comments or guidance to provide the team. I note Madam Cavender's hand. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Chair. Just for my own understanding, since I am new to this committee, how do we know when we have to investigate a suspected unlicensed activity?
Thank you, Madam Cavender. I think that is the only question that we have. May you please respond, Mr. Lukele or Mr. Untid or EM?
Okay. Oh, thank you, Chair, and thank you, Mr. Cavender. In terms of how do we know, when we firstly rely heavily, because we are only stationed here around Pretoria, we rely heavily on other authorities to inform us, and also we get informed by other operators in the area that are licensed. That's the first part of how we know. And secondly, we also, when we do site inspections to licensed facilities or other licensed activities that we know about, in that regard, we may come across some of the facilities that are not in our list. So I will just mention those two. Mainly is relying on other authorities, inquiring, and the operators in the area. But secondly, as we do site inspections that we schedule annually, we'll also, when we are in the area, we may become aware of other facilities that are not licensed. But maybe I should add this part. After the decision on bulk determination, most of the owners then are then required, especially for non-bulk facilities, are then required to approach NERSA to declare their facilities and go through the verification process. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thanks, then. If you have covered, ma'am, I think this point also stresses the importance of cooperation with other authorities, as well as creating a system where people who want to comply but are not sure, they can easily come forward and say, please verify if I am compliant or non-compliant, if I need a license or don't. So it is in that manner that this is addressed. And you have already indicated that you are covered, ma'am. I appreciate that. Then we go to the recommendation as read. And members, if you do support the recommendation as read, please indicate by show of hands. Thank you, Mr. Machola. Thank you, Madam Cavender. Thank you, Mr. Sibanda. I do support as well. Thank you, Madam Sichole, Madam CEO. We then conclude item 22. The rest of the items are going to be discussed in a closed meeting, except maybe that I go to item 25. Yeah, I would go to item 25 and then go back to item 15. Then we're going to close the meeting to discuss the rest of the governance issues and those section 8, subsection 9 of the NERA issues. 25 members, there was an approved round robin. One just the noting of the round robin resolution on the final findings report on the monitoring of actual tariffs charged by licensees in the period 1 July 2023 to 30 June 2024. Members, I don't know if there are any comments around this. It's mainly for noting. Just by show of hands, if you are happy to note this round robin approval. Thank you, Advocate Tole, Madam Cavender, Mr. Machola, Mr. Sibanda. Also happy to note. We then gonna go back to item 15, which is the publication of the tariff set approved by the National Energy Regulatory of South Africa for petroleum pipeline storage and loading facilities, the tariff booklet. And I take it that we've got this item with the booklet indicated on after page 8 of 8. We've got the 7 pages with the licensee names, license or reference number, then the area, town or city in terms of the location, then the physical address as the other column, and then the latest tariff approved or set as published on NERSA website. And then it does give then the date of approval, the products that are being handled in that facility, and the license capacity or flow rate or length. That is the booklet of those tariffs as provided. And again, apologies for missing out that annexure, but the annexure has since been provided. If you can just also refresh your convene members, if you can't find it. Madam Cavender, do you have it?
Yes, I have it. I've seen it. The 7
Okay.
pages.
All right. Thank you very much. And again, we'll endeavor to ensure that things are all done well from an administration point of view. So may we then revisit the recommendation, which is entails the recommendation that the Petroleum Pipelines Subcommittee notes the updated tariff booklet and approve the publication of this updated tariff booklet on NERSA website. The booklet is attached as Annex A. By show of hands, members, if you support this recommendation. Thank you, Mr. Sibanda. Thank you, Mr. Machola. Thank you, Madam Cavender, and thank you, Advocate Sitole. This then concludes all the matters that must be dealt with in the open part of the meeting. Firstly, we'll close the meeting in terms of Section 8, Subsection 9 of the National Energy Regulator Act to consider the 2 items and then proceed to then also consider governance matters. For now, I think it suffices that I bring this meeting to a close. From my side, I would like to thank the members of the public who are following us through the various live streaming platforms. That on its own puts us on our toes and actually pushes us to do better and better, being on a continuous improvement path in all that we do. I would also like to thank the members of this subcommittee. And I know that today we had quite a lengthy agenda, a lot of documents to go through. And for that, members, I'm grateful. And I think that we are also improving in terms of the questioning, the commenting, the guidance. I also know that there is a lot of that happens outside of this platform, so that the documents that we get here are of the highest quality. Thanks to the management and staff of the division, as well as other divisions, because we are moving more and more to the team-based networking structure, where we work across regulatory divisions, and the cooperation from corporate services and other areas, especially LAS on legal issues, that is much appreciated. So thank you very much to the management and staff of NERSA. With that, the meeting then stands adjourned.